Reincarnated as a Slime has returned, and this is it, the beginning of season 3. And I've got to say, this has actually been a very good and very funny first episode. I've enjoyed it, I watched it, and I remembered a lot of things that happened in the end of season 2, and I was like, oh yeah. But man, this episode 1, was all about our man Diablo here. If you thought in the movie and in the end of the last season that you saw a little devotion from our dude on Rimuru, man, he went another step about showing them how he's like, I am devoted to my king and don't you dare cross me. Diablo stole the show in this episode. Now, I don't know if he's gonna be a very strong force for the rest of the season, but for this one episode, man, he was great. So, if you remember what happened in season 2, of course, this actually starts off literally right after what season 2 ended off with. He finished up with the meeting of the demon lords and went back to the village, and the village is like, welcome back. And honestly, I'm glad it started here. I'm glad it didn't start like, you know, a few weeks later or like a month later type deal. They're still in this war that's going on. Now, of course, we got a part where Xion here, you gotta remember, she died. She was resurrected, and she was able to take out her revenge on the prisoners. Now, if you remember, the king, the archbishop, and the magical guy, that magic user that took over one of the humans' bodies, they were the only ones left alive out of everything. Rimuru annihilated the whole army. So they have no army, this kingdom that attacked them. So they have to, of course, create a cover story for whatever happened. Because they can't just say, yeah, our whole army got annihilated by the Demon Lord Rimuru, and that's it. Because they gotta show appearances to the other nations. They wanna be shown as a nation, so they gotta make a cover story here. So the cover story is that, if you remember at the end of season 2, Rimuru was like, so the hero, which if you remember the hero, he's technically not the quote unquote hero. He's what they've been using as a cover story for all these victories that they've been having. Rimuru's been downplaying his role and what he's been doing and letting the hero actually rise up. Well, Rimuru was like, so, do you want to be king? And that was their ploy to make him king over the nation that invaded them. Now, the biggest thing is, to accomplish that goal, all of this has been left to Diablo to kind of oversee. Now, Diablo has this elaborate plan. He basically uses the plan that Rimuru at first gave him to install the hero, the guy all the way on the right, as the king. Because Diablo was the one that kind of revived, if you will, the king, archbishop, and such back alive, they now serve him. So they go into this with an elaborate story as far as what's happening. And in the midst of this, one of the funniest moments is Diablo's just in the background, just kind of overseeing. When they talk great news about Rimuru, he gets all giddy and happy. But then when they try to talk smack, oh, he was ready to kill every single person in that room. His fury was ready to be unleashed, to the point that they had to get rid of the guy that was trying to talk smack before everyone died. Hilarious moment. One of the funniest moments in this episode is honestly Diablo, the way he acts and what he does to the end to make sure Rimuru is praised. And that plan was actually a very smart one from Diablo. I honestly thought that these 3 options actually came from Rimuru himself, but Diablo was the one that came up with this idea. He basically stated they have 3 options as far as this kingdom. Option 3, all the way on the right, is for them to continue the war, but they have no army. Rimuru killed their army, so they can't do anything. But he's like, you know what? Either you continue the war, you surrender to us and become a vassal state, or the king abdicates, which basically gives up his crown, and they pay them reparations. And of course, Diablo's like, they're not going to do number 3. They have no army. They're not going to do number 2 because the nobles under the kingdom are not going to agree to surrender the whole nation to them. Because you got to understand, nobles and the nobility are in control of the kingdom, and they don't want to lose control. Somebody else comes around and it's like, yeah, I control you as a vassal state now, so you're no longer needed and you're no longer needed. No, they want to contain some power. So he is saying their only option is option number 1, which the king abdicates. The nobles are going to be like, oh, it was the king's plan, so we're going to offer him up as a sacrifice. So the king will have to turn to the hero and all of Rimuru's friends for stability. And then in essence, it will lift up the hero to be the next king, which is the plan. When he read the list of ideas off, I was like, oh, okay. So option 1, surrender. Option 2, surrender. Option 3, die. Okay, that's the plan. But technically, option 1 is not necessarily them surrendering. It's the means to the end that they want to make the hero the king. Now, of course, this side moment from Veldora, I actually like the character of Veldora. When we saw him in season 1, of course, he was this big, imposing dragon that Rimuru was able to befriend, and he was just always there. It was always the case of Rimuru absorbed him for the one day, able to release him. So season 1, the whole time was like, everyone is afraid of Veldora the dragon. He rules over the forest. No one goes there because they don't want to die under his wrath. When truthfully, he was kind of like captured. He was basically in the cave. He just kind of wanted to sleep and be left alone and such. But now in season 2, when he got a body, he was actually able to be released by Rimuru and was able to make a body of his own. He has become a very funny character. One thing about this anime, they have so many characters. Of course, all the monsters under Rimuru's village, that it makes up his village. They have all the high people, of course, the orcs and then the trolls and everyone that basically makes up his village. Even though the cast is huge, they all have different personalities. They're not treated like they're the same. And they all have different responses and different things. That when last season they added the character of Diablo to it, it was like, they're adding another character. Okay, how is he gonna act? And the fact that he is a totally imposing character, yet bows down to Rimuru and absolutely adores the ground that Rimuru walks on, or slimes over, is just one of the best. So I have to say, this is one of the reasons that makes this anime so good. So many different characters do so many different things, have their own little moments. I mean, come on. Veldora did the Kamehameha wave last season. That's one of the best moments, one of the very good moments last season. Oh, it was so good, so good. So yeah, and still, they keep continuing to put on us more and more characters that make up the world that we get to see in this anime, and they still do not disappoint and still have their serious battles, that great battles, and then their funny moments that are just so endearing and so funny that just make up great clips. Tell me what you guys think about this anime, because we'll definitely be getting into it as it continues this season. It is one of the best. I enjoy it. And Lord knows, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Please, no spoilers, but definitely, I would love to have a conversation with you guys as we continue this. You guys be safe, take care, and Lord willing, I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Make sure to check out the extra content on our Patreon page, and thanks to our current patrons.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. Phenomenon.